Uh, Good afternoon. This is Dr. David A. Paget. Today is May the 12th, 2021. This is the Maymester Urban Geography class. And so I'm going to share my screen. Let's get right into things here. Stop my share for just a second. Okay, so as usual, I'm going to start off with the usual housekeeping by going to the calendar. Let's see, the first thing we want to do is get into student view. Okay, so let's look at this week's schedule first. And so today, the plan is for us to, first, we're going to have a discussion and report out on where we are thus far on the urban inequalities assignment, essay. And then we will conclude with the working session on the Africatown Connections Blue Way story map. And then that will be it for today. I'm assuming that we will not be here for the whole 3 hours and 15 minutes. I've said that every day. I think it's for real this time. Okay, I'm going to say one thing about tomorrow, and then I'll say one thing about tomorrow, and then I will repeat it later. So for tomorrow, so listen carefully. So for tomorrow, if you notice, we're going to start off. Oh, excuse me. Yeah, I'm sorry. What was the question? I'm sorry. Oh yeah. I don't know if enforcement. Yeah, I don't know what kind of coercive policies NSF, but I mean I think maybe a reward system might work. Like if you have a history or pattern of doing the right thing in terms of diversity, then I don't know, there'd be some kind of perk, award, additional funding or whatever. I think the reward system might work in this case. Okay, sorry about that. As usual, I'm in a meeting at the same time I'm teaching class. Okay, so where were we? Okay, so tomorrow, speaking of being in two places at the same time, so tomorrow, I am participating in a symposium hosted by American University. And so, and it really is interesting because I've been very fortunate in that my overlapping symposia and talks have kind of coincidentally been right in line with what we were looking at in class. So this week we're looking at urban inequalities, environmental equity, and so on and so forth. And so tomorrow, now that's Eastern time. See that ET? So that's noon for us. So, if you can log in at noon, fine. But if you can't be, if you can come into this meeting, you have to register. So the registration link is right there. So I absolutely want you to join this meeting first. And so I kind of have to hang out there, but there should be some really good information here for you. Advanced air monitoring, which is a very serious issue for urban areas. Next week, we're going to talk about urban heat islands and global and the impacts of global warming upon urban development internationally. So air quality is a big part of urban quality of life and livability in cities. And so we have learned, or you will learn, how many premature deaths. There are millions of premature deaths are caused because of air pollution every year, especially in cities. And so it's a major concern. Um, I'm going to be talking about equitable applications of geospatial technology, some of the case studies that I've mentioned in this class. The rest of this you might find of interest, synthetic biology, whatever that is. There's some applications of that. A lot of you all are biology or biochemistry majors. You might find some interest in synthetic biology. So I think we have one, well, see, we have a civil engineer in here, but not a mechanical or manufacturing engineer. Anyway, so again, I'm on this panel. So we'll start here. That will run us up to maybe right before 2. In any case, if this thing starts to run over, I will tell them I have to leave for class. So we will go here first tomorrow. So register, go here first. They know you're coming. They absolutely want you there. And then we will reconvene here. So the Zoom invitation you get tomorrow will probably be to start at 2:00 p.m. But don't be confused and think that, oh, Jesus Christ.
$2:00 p.m. So it's
Yeah.
2:00. So here is 4. No. Oh.
Give me just 1 second. So
It's 3:00.
see 1 second. Okay, so yeah, so for tomorrow, just register here. I guess they'll send you a Zoom invitation. Use that Zoom invitation either at noon or 12:30. Probably by the time I'm looking at the schedule here, that's this tomorrow. Yeah, this is tomorrow's schedule. I probably won't come on until 12:30 our time anyway. But if you can come in before then, fine. If not, jump in at 12:30 our time. And so we'll hang out in this thing first. Like I said, it is very relevant to our what we're talking about in class right now because it focuses upon um, environmental applications. A lot of it's in urban areas. And again, next week we're going to look at urban heat islands and international urban growth. So does anybody have any questions about tomorrow? Anybody fuzzy, unsure? Everybody know what to do tomorrow?
You just want us to come to the link on Eline at 12:30 tomorrow?
No. Okay, so okay. Tomorrow is May 13th. So we're going to start off here. Go here. So I'm going to be on this panel. This panel starts at noon Central Time. So if you click here and register, then they will send you a Zoom link for you to be able to join the symposium tomorrow that starts at noon. Or, like I said, if you can't get in until 12:30, that's fine. But go to this first. This will be over with by 2 o'clock our time. I'm gonna send you the usual Zoom invitation, but instead of it starting at 12:30, it will be for 2 o'clock. So we'll go from here and then come here. Okay, is everybody okay? Anybody still fuzzy? So what you should do is just go ahead and register. They'll send you the Zoom link. Then they'll and pop in here. You'll watch me here tomorrow. And then we'll come to class. And then we come back to class at 2. So after I get out of the symposium, we'll start here. Maybe I should have put it 2 o'clock there. Then we'll have a conversation about the food assets mapping exercise. Okay, if anybody has any questions about that, just let me know. If you forget what to do by tomorrow, just text me or email me. Just text me or email me, and I'll get you to the right place. I'll ask about this again before we leave today, just so that everybody's clear. I think we'll only be doing this one more time next week. I think I have yet another one of these presentations on. Yeah, we'll figure out what to do on Tuesday. Tuesday, I got another one of these overlaps, but I don't. It might be the same situation. That one you can attend. It's a closed meeting, but we'll figure it out. Okay, so So what are we doing now? We're doing a discussion and report out on the urban inequalities essay. And so, as usual, let's go to the assignment itself just to, let me get out of student view. Oh, I guess I could have stayed in student view. What am I doing? Okay, so here's the assignment. Again, it's not due until 11:59 p.m. tonight. And then, of course, you've got the grace period. So would anybody like to start off by sharing his or her draft? No, a couple people turned some stuff in. Some people turned in some drafts. So would anybody like to kick off the conversation today?
I can.
Who is that?
Kiana.
Kiana? Oh, so
Yes.
so do you, I guess, do you want to share your screen?
Yes, please. But this is like a serious, like a rough draft. I need like some guidance. I feel like it's
Okay.
kind of all over the place.
Okay, I'm going to stop my share and give you permission. Yeah, this is all, each one teach one, teamwork makes a dream work. We're all just trying to make each other better here. Let's see. You can just summarize what you've done thus far.
Okay. Okay, let's see. Okay. So, as we've been learning, race is a very big part of urban planning and, urban equity. Reading about the concentric ring model has really given me like a perspective of how our cities are like built. Like, I wasn't aware that, there used to be like Black people in the middle of the zone, like the central business district. I didn't know that that was a thing. I thought that they always lived like outside and, their projects weren't in the middle, but I learned that. So I kind of just broke down the zones from 1 to 5. Um, like this zone 1 to be in a central business district, the zone 2 transitional, zone 3 low income, 4 middle income, and then 5 is like the commuting zone. So as I said, before 1990, Black residents have mostly resided in the center of the city, but over time they have been moved out because of gentrification and white people wanting to move inside the city. And you can really kind of see this in uh, Juday's article about where she gave us all these graphs and how you could see like, okay, for example, like in Houston, Texas and Charlotte, the residents of the city were at 20,000 like in 19 in the 1900s. But after about in 2012 it more than doubled. So like now that the people who are kind of poor and not not as rich, they were in the middle, but after a couple of years that kind of switched. So now people in the middle are now making $40,000 or more. So I also read this video. I mean, I read this video. I watched this video about how the racial wealth gap started, and I found it so interesting because, like, you always hear about, like, that there is a wealth gap, and we all know that there is a wealth gap. But I didn't. I wanted to personally know, like, how it started. So I watched this video by the race. It was the beginning of the racial wealth gap in the United States. And to summarize, basically when they were building, in the past, a lot of people didn't own homes. Like before 1950s, the the people did not own homes. A lot of people rented. But in 1950s, the Congress they proposed this idea that people can own houses with help with getting finance from the bank. So the bank will help them finance their home, and they would be paying less on a house every month than they would be paying to rent their apartment. So of course, people will want to live in the houses. And they had great commercials. They advertised it as being like heaven. Everybody wanted to do it. But of course, they did not sell these houses to Black people. So in the beginning, white people already had a leg up. Like they were already getting these houses. They were able to build their wealth and pass it down to their children. While Blacks in 1950, they weren't even allowed to hold these houses. So I found it interesting because President Johnson, is it? Okay, yeah, President Lyndon Johnson in 1968 passed the Fair Housing Act. In this act, like he said that somebody's in the chat. Oh. But yes, okay, I lost my place. But okay, yeah, he passed a law that said that you cannot use racial words in like housing contracts, and you cannot say no Blacks allowed. You can't do that. So he passed that law. But once he passed that, of course, Blacks started to move into the houses. But once Blacks started to move into the houses, white people started to move out. So that's what they were sociologists described as like white flight. So, and I read more up on this. I'm like, why do white people want to run for Black people? Like, why are y'all so scared? And people, they were thinking, my other white colleagues are going to think that the Blacks are going to depreciate the neighborhood, so I'm going to sell my house before them. That's how they were thinking. So eventually, all the whites left out, and they sold their houses, and they went to another neighborhood when the Blacks were coming in. But of course, that is not the case. This is really interesting to me. In Resilience Matters, the devaluation. It's an article in there called "The Devaluation of Black Neighborhoods," because some people are like, we are racist. Like white people are racist to the point where they think that just because Black people are living in a neighborhood, their conditions depreciates the value of the house. But that is not the case, because these researchers took two different neighborhoods, one that was mostly Black people and the other one that was mostly white. They both had, the same amenities like transportation, food places, like they were on the same level per se. But so it when they looked at the prices, the Black neighborhoods were undervalued at a rate of like 23%, or $48,000 per home. And that was the minimum, 23%. And it raised as much as 81% in Virginia. But this study basically it proved that the living conditions of Black communities does not devalue the home. The value comes purely from what people think about Black people. So the environment is not devaluing the home. It's y'all. Like it's just the way that we think. It's nothing wrong with the house. It's just so I know I've been talking for a while, but the
Oh, that's fine.
okay. So so I wanted to focus on the case study from Hope 6. Oh my God. Y'all, when I was reading this, I almost cried because I remember, this is kind of just like a personal anecdote for me. I remember when I lived in the, like projects, like when I was young, like 7 or something. And then my mom, they were called the Council Court Projects in Huntsville, Alabama. And they tore these projects down. It probably, now that I think about it, it was probably part of the Hope 6 project, but I don't know. But they tore those projects down, and my mom didn't have anywhere to stay. Like I remember my mom telling me about like how she used to have to, this is personal, but she would have to bathe me in like McDonald's restroom because she didn't have a place to stay for like a whole like some months, and because they took the projects, and she didn't have resources to work or anything like that. But like they just took these places, and the people who were in Hope 6, like let's see, the Preston Taylor residents in Nashville, the same thing happened to them. They just took their projects, and then the area that they were on, the land that they were building those new houses on, not only did they make them not affordable, they did not allow the Black people to move back in because of rules such as like criminal records and things like that. Like, so they just literally put them on the street. Like they put them on the street, and they didn't really care. They just wanted to gentrify the neighborhood so they can get more value for their land. So I just thought that was just so, I don't know, it made me angry. But another example of this is gentrification in Atlanta. The documentary that Dr. Paget posted on eLearn was just so heartbreaking. The way they were tearing those houses down, just sending them out on the street. One of the officials even told one of the residents that, I don't know, you might have to stay with one of your relatives or put your stuff in storage. We don't know. Because it's not like they can move back. They didn't have the money. They didn't have jobs. They could not afford like those high price houses. But yeah, so I don't know. It was really bad for those people. So really, to conclude, um, I did some research on the Promise Zone, and what I found out that the Promise Zone was a more of a successful remediation for the public housing in Nashville. Like they said that unemployment, like the grants that they gave Nashville, raised jobs. People were able to find jobs and people were able to make a better living, because before the unemployment rate was over 14% and the poverty rate was over 35%. So those I couldn't find much on it, but what I did find, I found that it was helpful. At least it was more helpful than just kicking them out of their homes. Um, So yeah, and my solution was to just have more um, progressive inclusionary housing ordinances. Like if you're going to tear some of the projects down, at least leave some room for those who literally have nowhere else to go. Like leave something. Do not just tear everything down and tell them to go. Like they're not gonna where they're gonna go. Some of these people have been living there for over 15 years. But yeah, just to conclude, racism is a large barrier of equity in the United States. We have a long way to go. Have several more protests, several more court hearings. All this is it's very prevalent, and we just have a long way to go to deal with racial relations. But it can be done in the mighty name of Jesus. Okay, that's all I had to say.
Okay, we're off to a good start. Just a couple of let's see, a couple of comments. Okay, just 3 comments. The first one is in terms of yeah, scroll up a little bit. Keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going. Okay, right there, right there, right there, right there, right there. Just scroll up, right there. No, up, yeah. Scroll down. I'm sorry.
Oh,
Scroll.
damn. Okay, right here.
Yeah, keep going a little bit more down. Yeah, right there, right there, right there, right there.
Okay.
Yeah, see how you kind of like deliberately mentioned the concentric zones where some things are happening. Just try to do that throughout the paper. I mean, you did it there. You deliberately said the natural promise zone is located in zones 2 and 3. Okay, so just try to do that throughout the paper. I mean, some parts you really got into great detail about some of the dynamics of what's happening without really saying this is zone 2 or zone 3 or zone 4 or zone 5 or what have you. So just try to be more deliberate about that. Even if you're really deliberate about it, that's fine. I mean, you don't have to kind of skirt around it, or that's fine. Just be like really just straightforward in mentioning that this happens in zone 2, this is in zone 3. These people are moving from this zone to that zone. That's the first thing. Yeah, the second thing I just wanted to mention is that the Promise Neighborhoods project, it has a name, I cannot remember it, in East Nashville, was literally, when you start to think about solutions, it was literally a womb to college initiative. And so they started, it was largely the program looked at East Nashville, primarily the institutions that fed into Stratford High School. So Stratford High School was basically the final destination, and to some degree Maplewood High School. And so it would start off largely in Casey homes and other public housing with programs where they would, for pregnant women uh, who were given parenting training. So even before their babies were here, there was a program that started even before the children were born, right? So that their mothers, and, oh, I'm sorry, there was a program for the fathers. So they had I can't, all these programs had names, and and actually, just to take this full circle, I was something I can't believe I forgot this. Uh, Years ago, I used to, it was funded by the Health and Human Services Agency, the federal government. Years ago, I was paid to teach free GIS courses to uh, nonprofit and grassroots activists, right? They were hosted at Meharry Medical College. And so at one point, two of the people that took my class came from the Martha O'Brien Center, which is like the community center for the Casey homes. Uh, they learned GIS from me. They took those skills. They wrote, they used the skills to add map content because they had to map out all the census block groups, all the demographic data to justify the need to have East Nashville be declared a promise zone. And they got the grant. It was like $1 million. And so I mean, I had an active role in that promise zone being established. But it was literally, like I said, a womb to college program. It wasn't a thing where, okay, well, we'll wait till these children get to high school and then, or we'll wait till they get to middle school or even pre-K. And they also work with the fathers. And so a lot of these parents were young, 16, 15, 18, 19. I mean, a friend of mine and his girlfriend got pregnant in the 10th grade. I never forget it. I mean, you all are a lot more worldly now than we were back then. I didn't even know a 15-year-old girl could get pregnant. I all they taught us in sex education was about STI. That's it. You know, don't catch this disease, that disease. You know, pregnancy, didn't even talk about it, right? So I couldn't imagine. Like, one minute this guy was talking about, let's go to the park, man, let's go play some ball. 9 months later, this dude's diapers and formula and doctor's visits. I was like, whoa, man, wait. So, you know, can you imagine being 15 and being a father? You got no idea what you're doing. And so a lot of these young men went through parenting. So that's where it would start. Then pre-K. Then the program went to all the way through till they got to Stratford High School, and they had something called the top floor program. So at first, Stratford High School, maybe less than 10% of those graduates from Stratford would go anywhere near college. But the top floor program specifically was put in place to, get those young people to start thinking about furthering their education. And the program, that Promise Neighborhood has been around for a long time. It's been around so long that some of those babies that were born have PhDs. That's how long it's been there. And so so when you think in terms of solutions and interventions, you just can't put a Band-Aid. Look, it took 400 years for us to get into this condition. It's not going to take 25 years to get out of it. You know, um, see, how can I say this? Okay, I know how I can say it. So some of you all, I know you might think one way or the other about Minister Louis Farrakhan, but I was listening to one of his speeches one night, and he said, quote, he said, God made the black man, but America made N-words, right? And I was like, whoa. God made the black man, but America made N-words. And if you think about it, what we see out here has been developed over 400 years, and so that's why that promise zone solution was so extreme. I mean, but that's what's necessary. I mean, if your parents have no parenting skills, there's no fault of their own. I mean, even people who were ready to be parents sometimes don't get it right? So you can imagine somebody 16 in the public housing, you're pregnant. Yeah. So anyway, I just wanted to mention that Promise Zone program in East Nashville was a model solution, but it's extreme. But extreme conditions take extreme solutions. The second thing that I wanted to mention is in terms of solutions that's somewhat related to this. And so Kiana mentioned about being in an unstable situation in terms of housing. And so, and how, being in an unstable living situation can destabilize a person's entire life. But if you look at most solutions in terms of housing, remember I mentioned the reward system? It's usually based upon that. Well, if you get off drugs, then we'll get you into housing. If you go to this rehab program, 12-step program for Alcoholics Anonymous and clean yourself up, then you'll qualify for housing. So you notice a lot of these programs are for housing for low-income people are based upon them getting their act together first. Then we'll get you into some housing, right? Or you have to be, right? So Nashville created this really revolutionary program called House Nashville, HOUSE Nashville. And what they do is they say, okay, you got a drug problem, you got a alcohol problem, you got whatever, a crime problem, we'll give you housing. So this is a program that's subsidized largely by fundraising. We will give you a clean place to stay for a year. You got a year to get it together, right? And then you should be able to be on your own. And a lot of people were like, well, that's a handout. You shouldn't give people anything, something for nothing. They're going to lay up and freeloading on you, right? But who really wants to be on drugs and addicted? Who says, when I grow up, I'm going to be a drug addict? That's what I'm going to be. When I grow up, I'm going to be an alcoholic, right? What kid says that, right? I mean, people don't become drug addicts or when I grow up, I'm going to be a bank robber. I'm going to be a carjacker when I grow up, right? I mean, what kid starts off right there, right? So at the end of the day, if a person doesn't have a stable living environment, how do they expect them to get off drugs? If you don't have a warm bed to sleep in, if you don't have a roof over your head, how do you expect to get off alcohol? How do you expect to stop committing crime? Maybe you're committing crime because you don't have a roof over your head, right? And the House Nashville program has been wildly successful. Some of the people after 6 months, they move out, even though they have a year, they move out. I'm good off that stuff. I got a job. I don't want to be dependent upon you all. Let somebody else take over this house. So that's kind of a revolutionary concept in the solutions to some of these urban inequalities. You know, if you like, you really get down to it, is instead of punishing people who are trying to make it because maybe they're not perfect, let's give them a chance to get it right and give them a nice, warm place to stay, someplace clean, so you can get your mind right and then get it together and get on with your life, you know. So anyway, so again, this is, you're off to a good start, Kiana. Thank you very much. You can stop your share. Who wants to go next? Hopefully, you all are kind of getting an idea of the expectations.
Maybe I can get next.
Okay, sure. Just can share your page. I mean, share your screen, and then we can oh,
See how I should start. Like I was focused on like the urban equality. The urban equality in American society is because of it's something kind of like because of the history, like um in the old time. Can everybody see it?
Yes, we can see it.
It's kind of like part of like the history time. Like I was it's something like the history problem. Like and my point is like I don't think it's going to be, can I say, fixed soon or just in a couple of years. It's still going to be like that long problem. Um, so like um so like because the or like the because the old time when those the African American people slavery in history, like so the whether the economy the African American African American people's economy, the education they can get, the job, the place they can live in, like it's always like behind the, can I say, like it's low than the white people, like so like the so especially like in now we can see a lot like the all like the large city like the New York, the Chicago, Los Angeles, they always can always like in the map it always just like people will tell me or just tell like people like me, like the Chinese people, like somewhere you shouldn't go, it's really danger, and that place usually is a African American community. That's what I've been told when I go to a large city, and like it's already been like um I can like the 60 more than 60 years, like when the American gave up the slavery, but those like the top city six, those like bigger city in US still they didn't changing anything, like actually like, like even now like the African American people have the voting right, they get a lot of right from the past, but they still like when they living place they still like still like they can't still living like some places it's not that good part, like in the Dr. Page showed us yesterday, like in African American communities, usually they have the restaurant is not that good. It's like it's just a save a lot. I have been living in the African American society in some part, and when I came to America and came to TSU and take the language class, so the school just find a place they can stay for me. In there is a Save a Lot close, so sometimes I will go to a Save a Lot to buy some food. So um mm, like right. Like I don't know, is it correct or not? Um like because of those like past history, so like it caused the community like education difference. So I give the example like the in our spring semester. Actually I don't know the reason, so I just if it's wrong, I should apologize. But I should apologize. So like the TSU we only have 14 weeks on our spring semester. So for me, I think it's really short. It's like to learning something. It's I always feeling like the semester is being so quick. Like it's just like 14 weeks and it's over. I feel like if it can be longer, I can learn more things. But I have a friend in some part of some kind of friend they study in Vanderbilt and they have like regular 20 weeks online courses. So I don't know. It is maybe it's something about the education thing or just economy. So like the TSU have a short semester online because like maybe I don't know, maybe like um so the like the maybe so because Vanderbilt is a personal like it's a so they have a they have more money so they can um have like longer they can make it online courses longer or something. Like I checking some picture on the online, so it looks like like in 1960 Central when like the Martin Luther King's do the speech, the street that kind of like the community street, like it doesn't show like a lot of change, maybe. So I think it's kind of like this those pictures some kind of can support my point, like the American. Actually, it's because can I say like the racism problem, so cause the it's a cause the like urban equality problem. Um, I think that's it. This is my work cited. Something kind of like I think it's a huge problem. Like hard to explain. Sorry.
Um, okay, yeah. Thank you very much. Yeah, the only thing that I'll say the same thing to you that I said to Deanna, or Kiana, sorry, Kiana, not Deanna. Just be more deliberate. Like I said, you've really got some good content in terms of some of the causal factors of urban inequalities. So one is, of course, to be more deliberate about which zones of the concentric zone models are most closely related to each one of the specific issues that you see in terms of urban inequalities. And I mean, I know things can seem kind of daunting and hopeless at times, but yeah, we still have to seek solutions. So look for, look for example of solutions. Even with Hope 6, even as flawed as Hope 6 is in some ways, and we know that it's sometimes the pathway to hell is paved with good intentions. I mean, that's essentially what Hope 6 is, or really not was. Now it's over. Now that it's over with, but there are. Now you've got Envision Casey, so Envision Casey, and now there's also Envision Edge Hill. So the same thing that's being done with the Casey homes in terms of this change to more of a mixed use community is a good thing. But you have to, like you say, take the racism and the classism out of it, and it could work. And because what's happening now is that even though there is a one-to-one replacement of the public housing residents, that's one-to-one based upon individuals. It's not one-to-one based upon specific individuals. So what's been happening is almost like a cleansing of sorts there. They're quick to evict people now, evict them for anything. So it seems as if they're trying to, like I said, cleanse or the community of certain individuals, so that what you have left are people who are in fear, so they're not going to be very vocal. Maybe somebody will say, oh, they caught Miss Jones smoking in her apartment last week and she got evicted. Now everybody else is like, whoa, I'm not saying anything to management. And it's really, like I said, it is really sad when people in metropolitan housing development agency, which is the arm of government that manages public housing, treat the residents like dirt. Like I don't understand why a person would go into that kind of a profession and then treat your clients, your constituents, literally like garbage. So you can look at some potential solutions and rid them of some of the bugs, and it might actually work, right? It's almost like police, right? I mean, if police would just get rid of that X percentage of cops who are idiots, we might change everything. I'd say well, I guess it depends upon where you are. But I would willing to bet at least half of police are okay. and you got some who were just out there. But I don't want to start getting into police. I don't want to go there because then we'll be here all day.
Yes, sir. It's not.
But so don't, end your essay with it's hopeless. It's try to at least build upon some of the solutions that are in the readings, so that we can at least try to move forward. And I get it. I mean, it can seem like, I was depressed with this last election. I couldn't believe it. I thought, okay, in 2016, I thought, okay, people had an excuse. We didn't know. People were even saying that Trump was putting on all this crazy act to get votes. And then when he got into office, he'd be more mainstream, right? He just draw these that extreme right in, get him to vote for him. But then when he got in office, he'd just be like a regular president, like a Bush, or right. But he got in the office and just went, but wow, and it was just like every day you're like, what? Did he just call those countries, SHIT whole country? Did he just, that was the president of the United States, right? Did he just
say everything on Twitter?
Was off the wall, lying, just bald-faced lying right in the camera. Show him the lie on film, and he would say, oh, I didn't say that. Remember Mexico, the wall?
Yes,
remember
sir.
Mexico was going to pay for the wall?
Yes, sir.
Months and months and months. Mexico was going to pay. Who's going to pay for the wall? Mexico. Then when it didn't happen, this fool shut the government down for the longest government shutdown in the history of the country to get us to pay for the wall. After he said for months Mexico was going to pay for it. Just lying, right? So then you think, okay, it's 2020. Oh, and don't let me get into how he handled the coronavirus. That he knew how bad it was. How bad it was. It wasn't like he was ignorant. They had this guy on tape talking about how bad coronavirus was. How he said, quote, anybody who gets it gets into your lungs, you don't have a shot at survival, right?
Yes.
That was last January and February. This dude knew how bad it was, but then because of politics, oh no, it's going to be just like the flu. It'll be gone by Easter.
And he just say like he encouraged people to drinking something. I don't know, like to clean the dishes.
Oh yeah, and then he said you need to drink bleach. And then he started calling it the China virus. Then he's gonna blame it on the China, when they went back and researched a large percentage of the virus that hit New York and the East Coast came from Europe, right? Scott just. So I thought after 4 years of this foolishness, people are going to wake up. People should be embarrassed. So when I heard that the voter turnout was going to be huge, I thought, great. We're tired of this. We're embarrassed in front of the world.
When
President Obama was...
It's COVID becoming like the warning for the American people. Like it's been too comfortable for like 100 years for American people. Like they don't know like a president can be let down. A president can do like let down things. Let kind of thing to be like they can be the people can be a president. Like everybody can be a president.
Yeah, like literally anybody. Just even this guy can be. But I thought surely we as American people cannot be this stupid, right? Yes, we can't be this stupid. And then 74 million people, it took everything we had to overcome the voter suppression to vote this clown out. And see, that's why you still see these Republicans siding with this fool, because they see that, wow, even they were like 74 million people. And they were so convinced that he won that they bum rushed the Capitol in broad daylight. So I get it. I get being depressed. I mean, I was like, wow, like this is where we are right now. But we still can't give up hope, right? We cannot give up hope. You know, we got to keep believing that some set of solutions is going to make things a little bit better, right? But
Get Obama back. Just again, sorry.
but you know what Dr. Martin Luther King said? He said you cannot legislate morality, right? So you cannot. He said you cannot legislate morality. So no matter how many laws we pass, no matter how many policies we put in place, these people who choose to be racist idiots, it's not going to sway them, right? We just have to outnumber them. That's the only thing we can do in a democracy, is get more than us than they are them. And that's the one criticism I have with the Democratic Party, is that they're too nice, right? So Biden gets elected, right? What's the first thing he says? Even those of you who didn't vote for me, I'm your president too. Did Trump say that? Did Bush say that? Did Reagan say that? No. Those Republicans get in office, they like, oh, you didn't vote for me? Well, guess what? Bye, Felicia, right?
Yes, sir.
They tell you straight up. Bush said either you with us or you're against us. That's what Bush, the second Bush, either you're with us or you're against us, right? Trump, same thing. Well, no, oh, I'm gonna help all of y'all. And I know I've gone on far too long, but one day when we have time, remember that fake photograph Trump had with all those HBCU presidents, including our president? Well, this is being recorded. Maybe I should be careful. So I'm not going to say anything about that. But that was just all fake. If people actually bothered to read this Trump's plan for Black colleges, there's not a dime in it. Nobody reads anymore. They look at pictures and sound, listen to sound bites, but they don't read. But you could download the plan, Trump's plan for HBCUs, right off the White House's website. And I kept scrolling, I kept looking for the money. I kept scrolling. There wasn't a nickel in there. But if you ask a lot of people right now, yeah, Trump, he gave money to Black colleges. I'm like, I'm at a Black college. We haven't seen any money, no money, nothing.
Yes, sir.
He didn't make it rain. He didn't make it sprinkle. He didn't even make it drizzle. He didn't even take an eye drop and drop any water down, nothing on CSU. Right?
Like
Struck by
buy
lightning,
something on
shutting the whole campus down. Where was Trump?
don't
Anyway,
if you
let me stop. Let me stop. But in spite of all of that, we still have to look at some solutions. I mean, that's at the end of the day, when you go out into the world, people want solutions. I mean, at the end of the day, they don't want you can complain. You complain some, but then think, okay, how can we make this thing better? So that's the other aspect of your papers. That solution part. Just try to really, and the same thing. The solutions also have to be tied to one of the concentric zones of the concentric zone model. Okay. All right. Anyone else? Who's next? Sorry about that. I just I don't know. I just saw the sad end to the paper. I just had to say we got to have some solutions. We got to think of something. Because remember, doing nothing will have result. We say, well, you know what, it's hopeless. Let's just throw our hands up, tap out. There will be a result from doing nothing. Let's see. So who's next? Anybody want to volunteer next? Let's see. Let me see who else submitted a draft. Let's see. Volunteer or be voluntold. Let's see. Who else? That's why I normally don't do this, because then nobody will turn anything earlier. Like, I'm not going to get called out. I'm just going to wait. Not me. But, this is all constructive criticism. This is not personal. It's just, constructive criticism never hurt anybody. So it makes us better. What doesn't kill you will make you stronger. Okay. Let's see. Let's take a look at this. Okay, I'll go to the other section. And then I'll have, if nobody else wants to volunteer, or while you're thinking about volunteering, let me see. Oh, I know we gotta see. Let me see. Okay, let's see. Oh, Miss Mitchell, would you mind going next? Ashanti Mitchell.
Do I have to share my screen? Like, can you pull it up?
Okay, I'll pull it up. All right, let me see. Yeah, it looks good. I wouldn't. I mean, another person submitted something that's a very, very rough draft, so I wouldn't. But this one looks like it's fleshed out some. Looks like you're, get a little constructive criticism to get the bring us up to that A we all want. All right, so let's walk us through it.
Okay, so to start off, I looked at the reading modules provided, and of course we had to go off of the urban concentric model. So within that model, I was talking about how it incorporates the topics you want us to talk about, which is like gentrification, redlining, urban renewals, job sprawls, and the housing opportunities equal housing opportunities one, and then scroll down. And then so I start off with explaining like what each zone encompasses. So, zone 1 is the business district, zone 2 is like the slums, factories, ethnic communities, zone 3 lower income working, zone 4 middle class, and zone 5 commuting. Then I talked about how each zone, like I connected an article to each zone. And so for zone 1, for instance, I said that which is the business district, I said it's been affected by urban renewal. And then I quoted an article, the Bill Carey article, City Swept Clean. And it's basically how the government got rid of most of the older infrastructure to upgrade it. So that's easier for people to get to work. Like, and that's kind of what Nashville has been doing. They're because they believe that if they like Nashville, they had like their projects aren't as inner city to me as like the other ones, but mainly because I'm seeing Nashville now and they've already been going through this gentrification project. But for instance, like I'm from Louisville, and since I grew up there, I noticed that we had like projects in the inner city. And with those projects, they believe that if they got rid of the public housing, crimes would go down, which is also brought up in the video, The Atlanta Way, which is also in the modules. So then I brought up Preston Taylor Holmes and how she brought up hope and how this has displaced many African Americans, which was similar to, I believe, Kiana's. And she also brought this up. And it said many people wanted to stay in that area, but they couldn't, which, if you scroll down in Land Use and Philosophy by Rutherford Platt, he says that most urban landscapes are somewhere between two extremes, like they already have a plan for it, or it's about the physical size, which I have a typo there, I need to fix that. And then the government believes that they are positively impacting the residents because they believe, like, you know, back to that Atlanta Way documentary, if they get rid of all, like if they give them an environment that is in better condition than the one that they're living in, they believe there'll be like less drugs and crime and so forth. As one of the people in that Atlanta Way documentary stated, like they don't really give them nothing, but if you gave them something, then it would encourage them to take care of the area. So then I brought up how gentrification in Zone 2 has also made an impact on residents. And this is also where I actually cite the Atlanta Way documentary. I'm trying to use like as many sources as I could as I went down. So then with that one, it just covers what I already said. They're trying to fix and make the inner city projects look better. But with that, they're pushing out the African Americans. And that means they're kind of wanting less diversity, which is also brought up. And then I cited an article by Catherine Schwab and how many people were being displaced because you know the people, like the government was thinking it's going to benefit everybody positively, and that's not the case because many receive vouchers, but sometimes their vouchers did not allow them to find somewhere else to live that was still affordable. So Schwab also brings up that while businesses were brought to the area, more white people started to own homes and less minorities, which also I quoted Dr. Paget in the video, in the pictures that he had from like Atlanta and North Carolina, but I mainly focused on North Carolina because he brought up how everything is kind of being gentrified into like commercial properties. And there were like, he attached like 1 to 2 residential properties, but it was mainly like everything going into commercial properties. And this is due to like racial tensions in the past in like Greensboro, North Carolina. This is where, you know, the Woolworths, they went to Woolworths, the North Carolina T students, and they could not be served. Like, so all of the zoning and the projects and where they were at were mainly because of race. Like, while one community may build projects for the white people out in the suburbs, and they build something separate for the Black people that is not of equal quality. So I quoted what Chris Brenner and Emmanuel Pastor said in Equity, Growth, and Community, because they actually bring up Greensboro, which is also why I didn't use Atlanta. And it says, in Greensboro, however, these all too typical divides seem to be underpinned significant by racial tensions. And then as we go down, I believe I get into this is still zone 3, which is the lower income homes. And this is where I brought up Edge Hill community in Nashville and how Edge Hill has like all these new homes being built, you know, the tall, skinny, really nice homes, and then you still have the older homes there, which brings up their property value, which they can't afford. And they feel like they're basically being crowded in, and that zone is the lower class working zone, and most of the residents there are living like paycheck to paychecks, or they're on fixed incomes because they're older, so they really can't afford that area being gentrified the way that it is. And in turn, like, there was also redlining happening in this zone because it was an older neighborhood. Like, now that's being gentrified, things may change, but basically I bring up how redlining is when poorer neighborhoods do not receive the same access to resources and businesses like wealthier neighborhoods. And this is evident in the Nashville community where you see more corner stores than Walmarts and so forth. And then with this, I quoted Stephen Hale, History Repeats Itself in North Nashville, where he says, we are still living in a society that those old redlining maps help shape. So now, like with gentrification in that area, they're going to start bringing more businesses to that area. And this is going to cause all those residents to get pushed out eventually. And also, I was saying that the quality of life in those areas, the urban QOL, at first, it's like they didn't really have available services in those areas and so forth. But as soon as somebody with money comes in, it's like they're going to attempt to make it a better environment for those around. So while gentrification is really, really significant in the other zones, zone 4 is more so like a job sprawl zone, because that's the middle class. It's kind of like the suburbs. And with this, I quoted Kneebone, where they discovered that most employees live away from the city center. So they're going to be in like the zone 4 everywhere. And now with Nashville gentrifying, they're going to probably be trying to stay in like the zone 3 and like places closer to the inner city. But as of now, there have been companies like, Amazon and so forth that kind of like build their factories in close to the suburbs, but not too close to where people won't like buy those homes. And lastly, zone 5 is like the commuting area, which I interpret it as the rural area, because it's like the outermost of the donut, I guess you could say. And that's where, there's not much gentrification, job sprawls, urban renewals and stuff in that area, because rural property owners press for tougher legislation, according to James Simi, which he has like an edited excerpt in the Handbook of Urban Studies. So the solution to all this, which was also brought up in I believe it's the Pro Cone article, is they didn't necessarily say a promised neighborhood, but they had people in those neighborhoods encouraging students that they can do better in life and that they can go to college and so forth. And with these promised neighborhoods, it provides support to younger generations, and they actually receive a grant to start these programs in distressed communities. And I believe that, the younger generation paves the way for the future. And as time goes by, um, they're really just trying to push out poor people from being at the forefront of people's cities. And I've seen that like literally almost to every city I've been to, besides New York, because New York is kind of just like, well, you can't really hide much there. It's just so much going on. But like with cities like Nashville and Atlanta, where it's not continuously packed, and you can see like the project homes and so forth, it's causing many people, or many children, to become homeless, and a lot of them have ended up dropping out, which I also talked about, because they don't have transportation to school. They can't afford like steady transportation to get there and so forth. This was actually in the Pro Cone article as well, in the Atlanta Way video. And if we have promised neighborhoods, it provides more guidance for the youth to know that they have someone rooting for them. And also, right now, I feel like schools are more so like a school to prison pipeline. There are more prisons. They built 22 prisons since, I believe, 1980 in California, and only one university since that time. So, and they have a lot of promised neighborhoods that they're starting in California. I think there's like maybe 5, if I remember correctly. And I feel like this isn't a cure-all solution to urban inequalities. I feel like there's, of course, like more things we can do, but for the children and the stuff like that, I feel like that's just, and like the teenagers and stuff, I feel like this is a solution. I'm not sure about the adults. Like that one it's like vouchers could have been a solution. Vouchers worked with some people, but then some people did not receive a voucher, and other places will not take the voucher. So it's like with that, it's like how do you build the city to look nice and say you're going to let residents stay there, but you know they really can't afford to stay there, and you end up putting them out. It's a lot to unpack with that. Which actually, that's a great question, because Dr. Paget, what is your view on like everything, like I mentioned, like how they do the vouchers and like nobody has nowhere to go? Like, what do you think would be a solution for that, if there is one?
If I had to answer that, I'd be on CNN right now. Yeah. Well, first up, very well done, very well organized, well written draft so far. And you can see here works cited. Guess is this MLA? This is MLA style, isn't it?
Yeah, but like with MLA, it changes based off of where I got the material from. So some of this stuff is like YouTube videos, and then like I don't know how to cite the descriptive models of urban structure. The first thing you attach, because it didn't like have a date in it, an author's name, a textbook. It's where we got the urban concentric model from.
Yeah, that might be under like unpublished works or something like that. Yeah, just look up MLA style for unpublished works, and something like that usually falls into that category. Yeah, well, like I said, if I had the solution to that, I'd be on CNN right now. And they say, "Well, Dr. Paget, your solution that has completely turned urban America around. How did you think of it?" And I'd say, "Well, I was in the shower one night and it just came to me." So do I have the solution? Is there a solution? No. Like I said, it took 400 years to get to where we are right now. I mean, it's not going to take. Really, we've never had a time. Let's see, we had 1620 to 1865 under chattel slavery, and just understand that I think someone mentioned when we were talking about Africa Town. I think it was actually Mr. Womack mentioned that yes, there were slaves on the African continent, but it was a different kind of slavery. It's more like what we call servitude. So if two different tribes, if you will, in Africa went to war and one side lost, they would then enslave members of the other tribe. However, the slaves in slavery in most parts of the world maintain their humanity, was still a person, okay? And in some cases, if you've been to Sunday school a few times, you know that in some cases there are cases where slaves have become kings within the society in which they were enslaved. That's what was going on the continent of Africa. What was going on over here was what we call chattel slavery, where you're not a human, you're a property, and the owner can do anything to you that he or she wants with impunity. There were actually slave killing laws, right? Well, basically the law said, I don't know why they had to have a law, but if you decide to kill one of your slaves for any reason, it wasn't considered a murder. I mean, it wouldn't have to be not self-defense. You get up one morning, hey, let's knock off a couple of our slaves because I'm having a bad day. Yeah, I mean that would that's chattel slavery. And if you go back, some of you all are, I'm assuming if you're in biology, you are planning on becoming a medical doctor. Have any of you all looked into the history of the OBGYN field? Y'all ever looked into the history of that?
Yes, it is terrible.
Yes, I have. It's disgusting.
Okay, so y'all know what I'm talking about. I mean, horrible stuff, okay? You had no human rights. So when people start saying, well, there were slaves in Africa, yeah, there were, yeah, but not like this. This was unique over here. And like I said, I think I mentioned in here the one time before the Whitney plantation. Yeah, like I said, if you're ever in New Orleans and just take a 30-minute ride out to the Whitney plantation and you will get the full scope of how inhumane African people were treated. It's beyond belief. I thought I went to see 12 Years a Slave. I mean, how much worse can it be? But that was a movie. Now, it was a true story. And I'm just going to say this. After 20 minutes, I got it. Okay, slavery was horrible. It was bad. It was bad. It was a bad movie. I mean, it was a bad. I couldn't take. After 20 minutes, I was ready to go. Okay, like I get it. But then the movie went on and got more and more brutal, right? But then at the end of the movie, like in the, what do they call, the epilogue, they mentioned that the brother who escaped after 12 years of being a slave, he went back and found those dudes that kidnapped him and took him to trial. That's the movie I want to see. Okay, the behind whooping for 12 years. Okay, yeah, we get that. I want to see how this guy, no Google search, no social media, no radio, no TV, found these two guys or three, however, who kidnapped him. He went back and found them and put them. And the only reason that he wasn't successful was because he was black, because a black person couldn't testify against a white person. I'm thinking, how in the world did he find these guys? That's the movie I want to see. That's the sequel. I could have done without the behind whooping for 12 years. Show me how this brother tracked these cats down back then. That's what I want to see. A solution, well, almost, to the problem.
What movie is this?
Anyway, there was something else I was going to say. Okay, good job so far. Excellent job so far. There was something else I was going to say. I can't remember. I'll remember it. Something else I was going to say. Darn. Senior moment. But yeah, you noticed in Ashanti's paper that she made really, really direct ties to each concentric zone. That's exactly how the paper should be organized. And be very deliberate about it. Don't try to be cute and stylish. Just be blunt. This happened in zone 3. This is happening in zone 3. These people are moving from zones this to zone that. These people being displaced from zone this to zone that. Here's what happens after they get displaced to this zone that's different from the zone they came from. And speaking of which, I know what I wanted to mention. So, yeah, Shanti Mitchell, mentioned that she was from Louisville. And I think I mentioned in an earlier class that I had my college sweetheart grew up in the Iroquois projects in Louisville. I told that whole story. But another thing that's lost in terms of public housing that I didn't mention last time, and I'm going to go a little bit further, is that if you're in public housing, all of your amenities are right there. There's a clinic right there. There's a dental clinic right there. There's whatever you need is right there. And sometimes there's usually, public transit stops right there with shelters, right? Everything's right there for you. The community center is right there. The after school, everything is right there. And in Virginia, elementary schools are inside the project. So the children just walk out of the door to their homes right into the school. School's right there in the middle of the projects, literally, right? So, but when people are displaced and moved away from those amenities, their quality of life tends to suffer to some degree. This is the last thing I'll say with regard to that. So there's a city in the United States that has persistently had the highest infant mortality rate of any city in the United States. And some of the infant mortality rates in this city are higher than developing countries. And the city is in Tennessee. Which city might that be? Which city am I talking about? Has these extraordinarily high infant mortality rates in Tennessee?
Memphis?
Okay.
No.
Memphis, yes, Memphis. So I was involved in an investigation. I used geographic information systems to, as the city of Memphis was in the way to create an intervention for this infant mortality problem that they were having. And so now one of the limitations of with health data is because of a law called HIPAA. HIPAA is the medical information privacy law, right? So basically your medical records are private. You know, nobody needs to know what's going on with your health, right? And so when we start to map health data, the finest level of geography we usually can get down to is the zip code area. And depending upon where we are, the zip code areas can be very large and be very heterogeneous. So for example, the 37209 zip code area goes from where Tennessee State is all the way out to some places in Bellevue. You know, it would be very difficult to characterize anything about the 37208 zip code area, right? Because it's not, that level of geography is not really good. Even the Nashville Department of Health COVID hotspot maps were based upon zip code area because that's the lowest level of geography that you can have before you feel like you're invading people's privacy. Because if you get down to maybe a census block, you can almost, oh, I know who that is. That's Jimmy and them that got whatever, the cooties or whatever, right? So I developed a methodology that, and this happened way before we have some of the tools that we have now, like the Centers for Disease Control has its website, the places, the one that you use to get the asthma data, you know, like that, you know, that this was before that. So I developed a methodology that could get us down to the census tract level to determine where were the highest communities that had increased or elevated infant mortality. The assumption made on the part of the Memphis Health Department was that they would find the highest levels of infant mortality in zone 3, essentially in public housing, right? That wasn't the case. The highest incidences of infant mortality or women who lost their children in infancy were out in the ring suburbs. And they were women who had Section 8 vouchers, right? So think about it. And a lot of these were young women. Think about it. You're in the inner city, in the inner city, in public housing in Memphis, in the inner city. Say a 16-year-old girl gets pregnant. First trimester, medical clinic is right there. If she so chooses, my mother, grandmama takes her to see the doctor. She gets her vitamins. She gets whatever she needs to have a healthy baby, right? If she's living out in Frazier somewhere on Section 8, no public transit, no medical clinic, nothing's out there. So let's say she's smoking while she's pregnant. Now, like I said, you might think everybody knows that you shouldn't smoke while you're pregnant. Is that true? Some of y'all know people smoked all 9 months, and for the grace of God, the child is healthy, right? But think about it. If your grandmama, if Big Mama smoked, and Big Mama's okay, and Big Mama smoked, and Mama's okay, right? Now, maybe this time this girl might not be so lucky. And a leading cause of infant mortality is smoking during pregnancy, okay? So if this young lady, 16 years old, pregnant, doesn't get any kind of advice, medical attention, anything else, she smokes all the way through her pregnancy, really endangering the life of that child. So in some cases, we can't always make assumptions about where certain ills occur in cities and assume that everything that's bad that happens to people is in these projects. Let's just tear down these projects, everything's gonna be okay. Let's just tear down public housing, everything's gonna be okay. No, some things about public housing were very okay, but a lot of things not. Okay, the movie was 12 Years a Slave. For those of you, it's a rough movie. I don't know what to tell you. I don't drink, but you might want to. Don't drink too much, but I don't drink at all. But it's a rough film. Yeah, 12 Years a Slave. Lupita, I can't remember the woman's actress, African. She really, it was her big role. Okay, so it is 12:08.
Dr. Paget,
Yes,
what was the name of the movie that you said where the man went back and found his kidnappers?
that was 12 Years a Slave. Same movie.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but that isn't in the movie. That you see him get beat the whole movie, every beat, kill, whatever, people getting lynched. That's the whole movie. And then at the end, he does get away, or somehow he escapes or something, or he gets, I don't know, but he gets back to where he was from. And then, like I said in the epilogue, you say, and he caught up to the two guys that kidnapped him. I mean, like, whoa, really? But that's not in the movie. The behind whoopings through the movie is black people getting beat, burned, whatever you want to see happen to black people, it happens in this movie. That part, when the black man comes back and gets the people that kidnapped him, that's not in the movie. That's like in the little stuff that they put at the end. I said, that's what I want to see. I want to see a movie about that. This behind whooping, like 20 minutes of that, I was ready to go, but I said, man, these tickets cost $12. I'm gonna watch this movie. I went to the actual theater to see it. Okay, it's 12:10. Let's take a 5-minute break, and we will come back and talk about the class project.